Welcome to Behind the Beards, the podcast where real estate gets real messy, real funny, and sometimes just downright unpredictable. I'm Josh.
And I'm Nate. We're pulling back the curtain on the world of real estate. Whether you're an agent, industry professional, client, or you're just here for the chaos, you're in the right place. This is a real estate talk.
Most consumers out there think we just write a contract and get paid, and that is so far from the truth. Right, Nate?
Absolutely. Most deals fall apart because expectations and process isn't communicated and talked about between you and your client. Bottom line, the truth with this is, which I love that you just were so bold in saying that. There are so many things that we can't sit down with our sellers and our buyers and take them through. Sure, we can have a process sheet and we take them through it. But the amount of things that happen behind the scenes, you talk about it with your client, they're setting certain things up throughout the transaction. And then there's all these other personalities. And the truth is there's so many bodies that touch a real estate deal beyond just us, the agent, and our client.
For the most part, people only buy a house, right? Like every 10, 15 years. Some people, my parents have been living in their house for 32 years, right? There's buyers that I have that haven't bought a house since 1995, right? You know, when they go through the process from point A to point Z, they're like, holy shit, you handled so much work throughout this entire process. Like back in 95, like I saw one house, my agent just wrote the contract and it was done, right? Like until you're in the thick of it as a buyer, for the most part, buyers have absolutely no clue how to run a transaction. And that's why we as agents are so important. And if agents didn't exist, 3/4 of the deals would not get done. Sure, there's certain deals where your brother-in-law has a house and his neighbor wants to buy it direct and like, hey, we'll just have our attorney review it and we'll be all good. And yeah, there's deals like that go down. But even in those deals, litigation, lawsuits, didn't disclose because they didn't have a representation. I mean, there's so much shit that goes into a real estate transaction that we're going to dive into today that just shows you all what it actually involves. So that maybe when you go to buy a house and you see this episode, you're going to be like, maybe I should have an agent way before I even get pre-approved, right? To go through all the steps of like, what am I getting myself into? It's so important.
Yeah, we get paid when you're successful. That's bottom line. It doesn't cost you anything to link into our process and commit and build a relationship with someone who's going to help. It's no different than hiring an accountant or an attorney or having your favorite doctor you go to. Very similar situations and very, very serious situations. You're dealing with your financial profile, you're dealing with your retirement. These are important decisions that you are making as a client. Now, I want to go back to something real quick. I want to make sure I ask you this, Josh. We don't have to have a full bullet point item, right? A checklist, if you will, for how we do this. But let's just take it like this. You know, you take on a listing. You and I, we'll run a quick scenario. You have a listing. It's come up. You're at your listing appointment. They may be interviewing other agents, right? What are things that are going on in your head that you like stress the value? Because for me, it's about, I'm thinking about the process. So I'm gonna really provide an element of knowledge to that interview, if you will, or that connection. And when I walk away, I want them to go, well, that guy was more knowledgeable than everyone else. That's kind of my niche, if you will. But what do you think about when you're going through it, and then maybe process points? Because, you know, we opened up like with communication, expectations being set. Go ahead, just give us a little bit there.
So, I mean, it's different on the list side than when you're on the buy side, right? Equal work, you're still going to do a shitload of work on either side of the transaction, but let's focus on the listing side, right? When I have a listing appointment scheduled, my mind starts firing, right? Because I'm not a type of guy to just go into a presentation and wing it. I can't do that. I want to be so prepared and so transparent and so upfront with my marketing plan, my presentations, speaking about my company and my stats, that they don't even think twice of who to use because it's so clear, cut, and dry. So, I mean, certain things in my head, I need to know the area, right? I need to know the numbers. I need to know what's going on. So, right, I do my CMA. I really dial that in. That takes a lot of time too. I might be calling a lot of agents we go as far deep as calling pending properties and active properties, okay? Because it's not just the sold properties. If your agent's just sending you 3 comps and saying, Nate, your house is worth 1.4 based on these 3 comps, fire that freaking agent because they're not looking at the whole picture, right? So I look at active, pending, and sold, and I call the agents that have active properties. How's it going? Right? I have something coming up. How's your activity? Oh, you're at 2 million and you've been on for 90 days. Well, we're not going to fucking price it at that price because I'm going to be doing a disservice to my seller, right? So these are just little things that go into even prepping for the price, right? Like for the comp, right? So once I get the price down, then I'm feeling really comfortable with like my pricing strategy. I go through my entire listing presentation with details about my company and why we're the number one, why I'm the best agent for you too. Here are all my testimonials. I've done 10 deals in your neighborhood specifically, yada, 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 right? And then I have a full curated marketing plan with dates of like from the time we signed the listing agreement to closing. It's a list of 500 things of like, this is what you need to expect from me, right? It's transparency. It's just putting your best foot forward as an agent, knowing your shit, knowing your numbers, and like you're never gonna lose. But I mean, people don't understand it. They think it's like on the list side, they think I just get a call from someone and I go in and I say, hey, I'm the top agent, and they just hire. No, like we go to bat. Like you get that opportunity, you still might not get that, right? So you need like 10 of these. So us in our day-to-day lives, like we're hustling day in and day out, and we need to have so much in our pipeline to be successful because not everything pans out, right? I know my kind of numbers. When I go in a listing presentation, take away like if I'm the favorite or the fool, right? Because sometimes when you get a referral from cousin John, you already got it. You're the favorite. But say I'm going up in a listing presentation and I'm up against 3 people. I have like an 80% retention rate, right? If I'm going up against other agents, 8 out of 10 times, I'm going to win it because I know my value, I know my pitch, I know my marketing strategy, and I know all my systems are dialed in. It impresses people, right? So you got to know your numbers, but there's so much that goes into it on the listing side prep and on the buy side. It's really a lot that we do.
I'll back you up on this, right? What you just described is a tremendous amount of time preparation for not even knowing if you're going to get the job.
And even if I do get the job, it could take 3 months to sell that house. I mean, the way I price it is it shouldn't take that long, but I'm saying like, and I love with that point that you made. We get paid when you're successful. We don't get a dollar until you're successful, until you agree to close on the property. And then once we're in escrow, everything goes as planned because we put on our hat, right? And we get everything done and then it closes. Then we get a check. Most of you out there. Yeah. I mean, like we don't clock in and get paid hourly, right? That's why we deserve every single penny of what we charge, 2.5%, 3%, right? Like there should be no conversation about going under, and there isn't in my appointments because it's just not worth my time to do it for less than that. I know what my value is. I know what my hourly rate is.
Yeah, so stepping back real quick, yeah, there's a tremendous amount of time that goes into that. And because of that, we are sitting in our preparation stage with something like that, knowing we better be on top of it or tight. But there's one thing that you can't do sometimes before you go to, like, let's say your listing appointment, or you may be doing this on a Zoom. I have out of state, out of area clients all the time. Sometimes that listing appointment is done over Zoom. I'll just speak a couple seconds on this. My other thing is, this has got to be a good fit. Here's the process I know and the steps to go through. So whenever I have a client, a potential client that starts focusing on compensation, starts focusing on what's your marketing look like? Sure, I have all that ready. The numbers, knowing kind of what around the listing price or the value of the home is. I generally like to do a walk of the home, an estimate of value, use that as a touch. I'm really looking at other people's personality with that. But let's stay with process and let's stay with deals fall apart because expectations weren't set. I will go, are you familiar with the process of listing your home? Well, here's some expectations, right? You can expect, if you don't know all of the things that are going on in your home, like pre-listing, seller side inspections, which we need to line up, and I'd like to have in a link before we go live on however we're marketing the property, whether it's MLS or off-market exclusives or whatever it is, right? And we need to have pictures, staging, Inspections, let's stay with inspections real quick because most people don't realize this, right? If the expectation is you don't know what's going on in your house, well, then you can expect buyers when they do their own inspections, if you don't do them up front, you can expect that they are going to find something wrong with your house. And therefore, you can expect that you are going to get a request for repairs, requests for credits, things like that. Get ahead of it. That's the process. So now you asked me about why I'm worth whatever, 2.5%, 3%. I'm doing staging. I'm paying for that. Well, listen, you should focus on the expectations because the truth is people hire me because I'm good within the contract. Think about that. Everyone wants to hire their agent on the front end of how pretty the marketing is. And listen, we all do great marketing. We all know how to set up deals, but it's also personality. And they hire me for once we're in contract. That's what you really pay your agent for. The negotiation, the strategy, the knowledge of how to navigate a difficult buyer or a difficult agent on the other side. That is why. And that knowledge, we don't read a book, right, Josh? We don't go, hey, I did your training class on knowledge today in the real estate industry. No, it comes through doing many, many deals and also having the will and the gumption to go out and fight for your clients and do what's right and talk to your legal department and navigate through those things because there's always something new, but it's a character thing as well, isn't it?
It's protection too, right? I mean, we're there to protect you as well. I mean, there's countless times where I've told buyers to walk away from deals. And they were very happy I did, right? At the time, they're like, well, shit, we love this house. I'm like, well, you're getting yourself into a situation because of X, Y, and Z. Do you want to go through with that? And they're like, wow, like he's not out for his pocket. Like he actually cares about making this a true whole transaction. Like yes, you need to be happy, but we need to our job is to protect you as well, right?
My favorite word in real estate is reasonable and unreasonable. Like if you are truly a teammate and a member of your team and you're representing your clients fairly, you can spot a situation like maybe a buyer or seller on the other side of the transaction is saying, hey, well, I'm not doing that and puffing up their chest. And it's a total reasonable request. But if they're being unreasonable, you can't argue with unreasonable. And therefore, you help you and your clients get together and you make the most reasonable decision that you can. And you talk it out and you're on their team. We don't sit there and throw out these fancy, oh, if you do this or else. We're not like these salesy type of, Wall Street, whatever you want to say, right? We're not. Listen, we're just good people that know our stuff in this industry. And therefore, we want to go out and share it with as many people as possible. And therefore, we are looking for like-minded clients who will trust our process because it's worked. And again, you're going to have little things that are specific to each piece, right? I love that. I like to talk about communication and expectation because I think far too much we have people going and they're looking at, like we all mentioned, everything's important. Testimonials, Josh, you and I work on our technology quite a bit, right? We know people are searching us online, but we also make eventually meaningful, direct human connection with our clients, and setting expectations and process should be what's important to the client. Not, hey, the last agent that was in here said they're going to do my deal for 2% and, or 1% and this and that. What are you going to do for me? I'm like, okay, well, I can see you don't really understand what's important to what you're doing right now. And I'm not afraid to say that to people.
Buyers and sellers don't need constant updates. They need clear ones. And this is what comes into communication. Deals fall apart because there's not expectations set up front, and there's bad communication all the time. All the deals that I have that fall apart is because the listing agent's not communicating something that the seller said to them, or my buyers and I were not on the same page, which is very rare, right? Because everything is clear cut and dry. You gotta be like, you gotta have a clear message to your client, right? There don't need to be and you gotta know your shit, right? So at the end of the day, you can't just read a book and know how to treat your $6 million buyer when you're in escrow with a certain situation. It just comes with experience. It comes with doing 100 transactions and $100 million worth of business. It's just, and don't get me wrong, like I learn stuff still every single day, right? But but it's not like drastic things that are gonna like kill the deal. Those have been dealt with. I've failed in the past, right? And now my job is, to make you successful, right? Because of all my past experiences. So it's you gotta work with a vetted agent who knows what they're doing.
Yeah, and listen, we're kind of psycho.
We're not kind of. We're not kind of. I'm fucking psychotic.
Listen, how much free time do we have to? Listen, so what I want to say is this. We also know from our experience, the deal isn't done until that thing is recorded. Not just closed, not just people signing on the dotted lines with their notary or at the title company. When it's recorded with the county, that's when it's done. Things fall out of escrow in the last minute stages all the time. And it's because there's certain things that weren't communicated. And sometimes your communication to your specific client isn't enough. And here's what I mean. Sometimes the other agent, you talk to them and they're like, oh, they were afraid to have the conversation and they spun it in a different way to their client. And all of a sudden their client's showing up to the closing table and there's a surprise. So we tell our clients what? It is not over. And hopefully not over after that is when it's recorded either, because we like to continue our relationships forever, of course. But the deal itself is not done until that last minute. So keep that in mind.
There's a lot of ways to mitigate like mistakes and delays and hiccups in the transaction, right? Like I had a buyer, and at the end of the day, it was my fault for not setting the expectations from the beginning, right? And I'll never do this again. This is like one of my first few deals, right? But like this is probably a decade ago. I had a buyer that was closing in 5 days. So they were scheduled to sign their loan docs in escrow in San Diego, like 2 days before, right? It's typical 2 days before. So I got a call from the buyer the morning that I assumed everything was set up, that they're going to be signing their loan docs in escrow. And the buyer said, hey, Josh. And it was like, no, I said, where are you? He's like, I'm actually in the airport. I just landed in Texas. I said, excuse me? You have an appointment to sign loan docs in escrow. He said, I know, I had to take a business trip. I'm sorry I didn't tell you. Can we just push this? I said, the seller could give you a notice to close. And like, how long is your trip? He said, oh, I'm here for 6 days. It's a retreat. I said, what? So here's my error, right? My error was from the very beginning in my buyer's consultation. Now what I do every single time is like, hey, these are the steps. By the way, 3-4 days before escrow closes, I need you to be in town. And if you're not going to be in town, I need to know. And if you're going to be out of the country, I need to extra know, because we're going to have to set up like notary. And not every escrow company has mobile notaries to go to Japan, right? Thank God he was in Dallas. And this escrow company at the last minute said, okay, well, we'll send a mobile notary out there. He's going to have to sign like in the next 2 hours. And he missed a meeting or whatever. He signed. They FedExed the document. We had a 1 day delay and we closed. But like, I'll never make that mistake ever again, because I know what can happen, right? It's happened to me. So now expectations are set. My buyers know that they need to be here, right? Through the process, and that will never happen again.
I will back you up. Real quick story, because I want to make sure we get to our excellent question of the day. But I had that very same thing happen not too long ago, and one of my agents, we were representing the seller. The buyers had come to us because it was around the holidays. The buyers on the other side had come to us and said, hey, two of the buyers, or there was like three buyers on that side. Anyway, two of them had to go to China. They needed a power of attorney. They got that done before they left, so everything was cool. And then when we went to our sellers, one of the sellers was going on a cruise and didn't tell anybody. So Josh, this is not just like your 6 days. This guy was in international waters. We had no chance to do the notary. We had to go and do an extension of time after the buyer already extended time. Luckily, he was back 2 weeks later. When he got off the plane in his home state, we had him go directly to the title company. And luckily, we were able to do an extension of time addendum on that.
Does your escrow company not have a mobile notary that goes by ship?
Right. Yeah. No, they have jail cells on cruise ships, but they don't have notaries. Yeah. No, you can't do that. We were even joking, like when they dock, we would send when they're getting close to coming into one of their docking places, wherever they were on the cruise, that we would send out one of those like inner tube boats with the engines behind it with the mobile notary. riding like this, like going to get the paperwork signed, right? Because that would have been a good story, right? But we definitely navigate some things that are surprises to us. And yeah, like in your situation, the client wasn't thinking. He's like, I'm not canceling the trip, right?
I could have prevented that potentially, right? So now in my consultation, if I do everything thoroughly, which I do, and a buyer does that, it was out of my control. Like he just didn't listen.
Well, and check this out. It could be a breach of contract thing. So let's talk about this on the back end, right? You can't just yell at your client, say you better get back on the next flight out here, even though we thought about that. But we didn't do that. We went back to the other agent who we had built great rapport with on the buyer side and said, you're never going to believe this. Here's what it is. My gosh, if we've got to do some type of credit, that's fine. But we didn't start with that. Good news was we both had mutual respect for each other and our communication styles, both agents on both sides. We were able to talk to our clients because we both had good rapport built with our clients and no one freaked out, and we closed that thing up 2 weeks later.
Unfolds like that's the best, right? Sure, there was a hiccup. We got in, we fixed the issue, and everything was good. So I'm glad that all worked out, but it doesn't always, right? I've heard horror stories of people who are buying $8 million homes and they make and they're financing 2-3 million of it because they just want to leverage some debt. And then they go buy a Lamborghini in cash, and they're like, "Well, what do you mean? Why is it? It's not going to affect me. I have 20 million in the bank." It's like, no, dude, you're getting a loan. You just bought a Lamborghini 3 days before closing. You're not doing this deal. So you know what happened in that deal? You had to get a hard money loan for like 5 million. This is my buddy's client. Had to get a hard money loan for 5 million and then refi 6 months later. I mean, shit happens all the time in our industry at the last minute.
You can't make this stuff up. We are crazy people.
Who do you guys want representing you when you have these hiccups last minute? It's not going to be a discount brokerage. I promise you that. You want one of us representing you when shit hits the fan.
And here's the other thing. I'll just kind of leave the value with this, right? We are crazy people. Like we literally work all the time, and we've found a way to make this just part of our life. So that's why we're doing even what we're doing right now, Josh, right? This is therapy for us, because honestly, there is no way to be successful in this business without dealing with people and their craziness and their values and their cultures and everything else that goes into it. And then, by the way, know every little step of the real estate business, and then just be ready for new things that you haven't ever encountered before. And it's your responsibility to get on the phone and help your client and save them and help them through that process.
It's insanity.
It's insane. What we do every day is, yeah, we have good days, we have bad days, but the next day always has to be a good day. You always have to get right back up and do it. So we take rejection, we take just everything. We are doing our own marketing. We're running a business. And then it's like, then we're still servicing clients in arguably one of the most dynamic and just personal businesses on the planet. And I will tell you this, kind of leads me into my next question here, that, the value that we bring, we hope that we've exemplified it in a way that this business isn't glamorous, and it's not glamorous for our clients either. And people do things on the other side of transactions all the time. And so, again, it's not a scare tactic. It's not like we're trying to scare anybody by talking this out. We need to voice it out so we can keep our own insanity. So let me ask you this, Josh. What is the hardest part about being an agent? Being a realtor that's successful, that's working 7 days, what is it? What's the hardest part for you, man?
One thing?
Sure, yeah, let's try to focus it on one thing. Maybe we'll, do it like that.
The hardest thing about doing this business, I would say lead generation. I think lead generation is tough for just in general, right? You need to figure out what you're good at. Are you a door knocker? Are you a networker? Are you this? Like, you can't do 10 things at once. So the hardest thing is finding out what you're actually, number one, good at, and what you like too, because it sucks real bad to do things that you don't like. Like if you don't like cold calling, don't cold call. It's just, why are you going to do it? So I think that's probably the hardest part about this business, is getting the client. And then also, there's a subcategory, and then going through the process, right? But that comes with experience. What about you?
Yeah, correct. Like I have found over the arc of my career, it's the constant changes, whether it's society, whether it's technology, whether it's not being satisfied with where you are financially, right? Because there's things that you and I do that also is something that our clients don't get to see, right? Because they see us in transactions, right? Or when we're meeting them, and lead generation is kind of part what you said too. But what they don't see is, oh gosh, that's kind of changing in the industry. Or, oh gosh, like people don't answer their doors. Okay, so I got to figure out different marketing pillars. Some of the staples will always be there. And our knowledge is one thing that we always want to have face to face. We're always trying to set appointments, and not in a nasty and weird way. That's how we gain more clients and more reputation and deals and income. But I would say keeping up with the times and the changes and just society, how it works. Social media is this new thing, right? We go through all that. So just keeping up with the times and just staying focused with keeping up with the times. The focus on the deals is always there, because if you focus on the deals, you're going to get the deals done, but you got to figure out how to consistently, bring those back in to increase your income. And then if you're ambitious enough, like you and I, and, building teams and building our brand, we are consistently thinking about that and then doing the whole other side of the business. So that to me is the hardest part of being an agent, because it's not just about, like you said at the beginning of our time here, it's not just about, hey, I sign a contract and then I get paid. There's so many moving parts.
It's also being structured, right? I think that's a big, really tough part about this job, is that no one's gonna call you and be like, hey, where are you? It's like you work for yourself, right? So structure is huge as well in this business, really hard. Once you have the systems dialed and everything really fine-tuned, you're pretty golden, but it takes some time.
The second piece to that is you and I are both family men, and that's the timing, just scheduling your time. Good answer. I love that, and it's always good to be with you, Josh. I know we could talk all day, but we'll save some for the next one. How about that?
Always a pleasure, brother.
All right, awesome, man. Thank you for tuning in to Behind the Beards. If you've enjoyed today's episode, do us a favor, subscribe, leave a comment, and share it with someone who'd enjoy what you've heard here today.
You can also connect with us on social media or send us one of your own real estate confessions, because who knows, you might just hear it on the next episode.
We'll catch you next time, where we always keep it real, keep it honest, and always behind the beards.